akatabo tukasanga wa politics
olaba kabaka ng'alina abanyampi kabaka alina abanyampi ye bweyekyusa bwati bawaayira bano nammwe abaganda mugamba Ssaabasajja kabaka gutusinze nnyo kubanga omulangira aseeredde gusinga ki nze kitange bwasinga nammwe muli banyampi mumba mutute muba muzemwe epulasi omulangira bwaseeredde Ssaabasajja kabaka gutusinze nnyo nze kunsimbirawo abuba bunyampi akkiriza omusango gwatakoze.
You're welcome to the audio version of the Politics of Banyampi Part 2. We are getting into Part 2 and we thank you for following Part 1. If you have not read Part 1 or if you have not listened to Part 1, Part 1 is already available at our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, click the notification bell to keep yourself updated wherever we post something, especially on this book that we are reading on our channel. We urge you to continue sharing and commenting. I want to tell you that you are still lacking somewhere in commenting, giving us a way forward to keep us getting better every day. Right now, we are getting into reading our Part 2, but I want you to know that we have so many social media platforms, but the main ones include Facebook, which is Joseph Tamale Mirundi on Facebook page. We have that page. We have Tamale Mirundi Official, our YouTube channel, and soon you'll have to download all these audio versions on other platforms like Shazam, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and more. So we request that you support us. Then let's get direct to reading Part 2 of our book. I need to remind you that Part 1 ended when the author, Joseph Tamale Mirundi, was talking about the innocent ones, who in this book referred to as the Banyampi, who are normally there to pay for the sins of the big wigs in the government. He also gave an example of the recent Bank of Uganda saga, which did not implicate the wrongdoers, but instead decided to choose others to blame for what had been done. In this case, the ones we call the Banyampi. He referred to in this book, he talked about Uganda tycoon Charles Simbire and city businessman of City Tires, who put extra cargo on a Ugandan chartered plane that was carrying the Ugandan currency. But instead of implicating these people in this scandal, they created other people that they blamed for their wrongdoing. Let's get straight to Part 2, which starts with a headline or a subheading: The Impact of Banyampi Politics to Museveni's Future. Taking a critical look at all African culture, one notices one important remnant of the past. African kings were gods. In fact, when Christianity was finally introduced in Africa, it only enforced one dictatorial aspect, the concept that obukulembeze buva wa Katonda, power comes from God, which asserts that leadership only comes from God. African kings used this biblical verse to claim that they were chosen by God. They chose to read and emphasize this and ignore other verses that spell how God dealt with errant leaders like the pharaohs. Armed with this concept, that the leaders are chosen by God. African leaders who replaced kings wanted to portray themselves as ambassadors and high commissioners of God in their respective areas of leadership. They opted to several intimidating practices, trying to prove that they were actual representatives of God. For example, all dictators who ruled Africa resorted to juju politics. Majority of them converted to Christianity, but later retained their old traditional practices. Their illiterate subjects could not understand these contradictions. The conversion to modern religion was only meant to appease the colonial masters during the day, but support would be sought from their ancestors during the night. Joseph Tamale Mirundi goes ahead to show you the origin of this problem. He calls the politics of the Banyampi. Who created it? How does it come to be a problem in Ugandan politics? Another subheading: Independence African leaders. The independence African leaders are those who took power at independence and decided to borrow a leaf from both traditional and Christian values. These include Milton Obote, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Kamuzu Banda, and Kenneth Kaunda. To illustrate my point, let me analyze the above practice as these leaders tried to adopt both Christianity and the African tradition. The independence African leaders maintained their traditional names and did not denounce their tribal background. They retained their Christian names, but at the same time maintained their African roots. When colonial masters were forced to grant independence to African countries by USA under the Marshall Plan, the only option to achieve independence was to adopt a multi-party political system. The colonies that were under European powers and were defeated, including Germany and Italy, were handed over to victorious powers like Britain and France as mandates. The example of such African countries is Tanzania, which was formerly a colony of Germany, but later handed to Britain in preparation for her independence. The challenges faced by African leaders. While African countries were preparing for independence, the United States, which was the most powerful country at the time, dictated several conditions to the new African polities. As a result, a new order emerged, dictated several conditions to the new African politicians. As a result, a new order emerged. 1. The colonialists tried to transform African leaders who were absolute kings at the time into constitutional monarchies. Majority of Africans were illiterate and therefore lacked ideological approaches to issues. The challenges facing Africans at the time differed from one entity to another. Each tribe pursued different tribal interests. African leaders were connected to God. They were regarded as God's ambassadors, and it is this fear that had become part of the African heritage, which had survived for centuries, which they did not want to detach themselves from. In order to end disputes and battles for succession to the throne in Buganda, a clear succession plan was put in place. In many African countries, colonialism helped in stopping wars for expansion that existed between kingdoms and chiefdoms. Traditional leaders were restricted to a particular area, and that's why we have cultural leaders addressed as highnesses and majesties. In Uganda, for example, cultural or traditional rulers reign over a specific area and not the whole country. That's why no king claims to be the king of Uganda. All kings in Uganda are regarded to be equal. The Kabaka of Buganda receives more attention just because of the following reasons. The central government operates in Uganda. The capital city of Uganda is located in Buganda. And because of the large Uganda population he rules. The attention the Omukama of Bunyoro enjoys is owed to the oil potential that his region Bunyoro has. The Omusinga of Rwenzururu also owes the attention from the central government to the historical battles his kingdom fought with successive governments. The Amin government in the 70s created Kasese district to appease the Bakonjo, while the Obote II regime of 1982 negotiated with the Rwenzururu movement, which was a violent armed group. The negotiations resulted into government extension of scholarships, grants to the kingdom. President Museveni enjoyed support from Kasese when he accepted demands from the Bakonjo to be recognized as a separate entity from Toro Kingdom. He, however, fell out with leaders of Kasese when he supported a recognition of Bundi Bujo as a separate cultural entity, leading to the attack on Mumbere's palace. African leaders mastered the art of intimidation. Since majority of African kings lost the battle to extend their territories and cover the whole area, save for King Muswati of Swaziland, they also lost grip of the citizens living in those areas, leading to a new political setting that gave rise to the political states we have today. Taking Uganda as an example, there existed kingdoms of Buganda, Ankole, Bunyoro, and Toro. However, the architects of Uganda's independence were not fair, and this is why. 1. Given its nature, and with 4 strong kingdoms, Uganda would have opted for a federal arrangement. 2. At independence, the traditional leaders would have accepted to retain their cultural leadership roles with no political power. 3. Only the strong Democratic Party and the Uganda People's Congress (UPC) would have formed a republican government and leave kingdoms to exist as traditional institutions devoid of politics. Unfortunately, the leaders of these political parties instead fought each other to satisfy their demands of traditional leaders and for support to win votes on who would form the 1962 independence government. Milton Obote and Ben Kiwanuka fought to appease the traditionalists and consequently both lost an opportunity, leading to the 1966 crisis. What the two leaders failed to do in 1962 has been successfully done by Yoweri Museveni when he supervised the writing of a constitution that recognizes traditional leaders and spells out their powers and roles. Independent African leaders and why they created Banyampi politics. That has marked the end of our part 2. The last subheading is where we are going to begin from in our part 3 of our book, The Politics of the Banyampi. We thank you for tuning in to this channel. We will always update you. Part 3 is coming in a time of 48 hours. Keep sharing. Please click the notification button such that wherever we post the next part, you are aware or you are notified that it has come to this channel. We have other social media platforms including Facebook, Joseph Tamale Mirundi. Go and follow us there. We normally put quotes from Mr. Joseph Tamale Mirundi. And we have this book in 2 forms already. We have it in the Luganda version. We have it in the English version. osobola okugenda mu Oluganda akatabo nako n'okasoma ku mukutu gwano gwennyini, or you can come to the English version, successfully share, comment and give us a way forward wherever we post. We thank you. See you again in part 3 of the Politics of the Banyampi by Joseph Tamale Mirundi.